Football is crazy, and fantasy football is crazy too. Another wild Sunday in the NFL. We're here to talk about the fantasy stuff. Also, the Bays, Green Bay and Tampa Bay, are 6 and 8. Is that right? Yeah, they're both 3 and 4.
It's more like green blah and Tampa blah.
And the Giants and Jets are 11 and 3. Oh my gosh, what is going on around the NFL? How's your fantasy team? How's your fantasy week going, guys? Some of us have to
go ahead, Heath. Tell them all about how you're doing.
So I did a Twitter poll, Adam, and I thought you would really enjoy. Who is the least washed? Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. And I didn't see results. Instead of see results, they're all washed.
Well, that one obviously won. But overwhelmingly.
Would that be your answer?
No, the least washed would be Tom Brady. Mike Evans killed
Tom Brady
and 64-yard touchdown on the first play of the game.
It may be true that Tom Brady's the least washed, but I saw him throw at least 3 two-hoppers.
Yes.
Today. Just awful passes.
Baseball
and
season.
It's more than just that. He had time. The Panthers were not blitzing him like crazy. The line gave him time. He wasn't firing. He's not his old self. He might be able to regain his form. I don't know about Rodgers, partially because I think he's done with Romeo Doubs. Lazard got hurt. We'll see. Watkins isn't fast. I don't know when Christian Watson will come back. That's a dude who could use a stud number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah. Well, he also has a thumb injury. I mean, let's be a little fair to Rodgers. Is holding that thumb. We can see it, but it's a really big deal. These aging quarterbacks and how they just haven't been very good. I mean, it's had
Stafford in there.
It's had a major impact in fantasy football. These guys have been counted out before. All of them have been counted out before. Maybe less Wilson, and they've bounced back time and time again. Are we done with that? Are those 3 in particular, Wilson, Rodgers, and Tom Brady, done as reliable fantasy starters? And to be fair, again, what did Rodgers score today? 19, 20 fantasy points for the last 5 games. He's been there. But are they done, Heath, being reliable fantasy starters?
I would not say that at all. Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next week face a Baltimore Ravens secondary that made Jacoby Brissett look like Tom Brady for about a half of football today. So I think there's a very good chance that Tom Brady's a top 10 quarterback next week.
Counterpoint, he just faced the Steelers with a completely banged up secondary and the Panthers with a fairly banged up secondary. They lost another cornerback today. No. All right, we'll talk about it throughout the week. Dave, let's be positive. Let's spin it positive here, Mr. Richard. Who's the biggest winner?
The biggest winner for fantasy, let's find a running back who can get you big fantasy points, and did it against a 6-1 team. Travis Etienne dominated playing time for the Jacksonville Jaguars. James Robinson didn't even have a carry. He looked good speed, only caught 1 pass, and scored a touchdown. I think he was close to getting another, and he fumbled inside the 10. Yep. That sucked. He also had a 2-point conversion run. He's looking like the running back that we saw at Clemson a couple of years ago, and it's not because of his pass-catching ability. He's getting the job done running the ball. The speed is evident. The power still – I don't know if the power is ever going to be there. But he's been great for fantasy the past 3 weeks, at least 12 PPR points per game. My bold prediction on the show, over 100 yards and a touchdown. He got there, and I think there's no doubt about him as a starter in fantasy for the foreseeable future.
Well, one young running back goes down in Breece Hall, and another one emerges in Travis Etienne. He was absolutely fantastic, and he'll be a must start going forward. And I mean, top 10 potential with Travis Etienne rest of the season.
15.
Given the way running backs are falling down, maybe.
Okay. I think we have him in buy or sell later. Heath, give me the biggest loser of fantasy week 7.
Well, first, I want to bring a little positivity of my own. I thought it was fantastic seeing Marquise Goodwin score 2 receiving touchdowns. I thought it was fantastic seeing the Carolina Panthers, after they trade away their best player, rallying to beat Tom Brady. Like, very happy for those guys. The biggest loser, by far, anyone whose job is to catch a pass on a team that's coached by Arthur Smith. We said maybe, they've just been competitive in all these games. If they just fall behind early, they're not very good. They'll play from behind one of these games. They were down 21-0 before the kickoff. Joe Burrow threw for 450 yards or something. It was a complete thrashing. Marcus Mariota threw 13 passes. Kyle Pitts, what did he catch? 2 of them?
He actually
London
caught
had
3 of
one
them.
catch.
He was worth 3.9 PPR points.
3 catches for 9 yards. So he
Hold
could
on,
not
it
even
gets worse than that if you want.
could not even live up to his 19-yard median.
He had 2 end zone targets that were negated by penalties. He couldn't catch.
Oh, he had one that he caught, and I don't know how it wasn't a touchdown.
It literally should have been a touchdown, right? Because it's supposed to be lined up.
I
With
don't
the white
think he
line
actually
of the end
had
zone.
control of the ball. I think he had to re-catch it outside of the end zone, which is
And
why
maybe that's why. Maybe.
Yes.
But even if he had scored that touchdown, I'm already getting people saying I'm dropping Kyle Pitts. I don't care what you say. I don't blame you one bit. This offense is tough to watch. They had the ball for almost 27 minutes, 13 pass attempts. You know what the story is. It's going to be hard to trust anybody in this passing game.
Mm-hmm.
Can you believe what a treat we get next week? Like I generally during the 1:00 games, I will watch either the Max game feed on one screen. I'll have the red zone on. I don't very often get to just like hone in on one game, but you'd better believe I will see every snap of Falcons Panthers next week.
Yes.
It's going to be
Sure.
spectacular. Spectacular.
All right, so Travis Etienne's our big winner. The Atlanta pass catchers are our big losers. Did the game start yet? I'm having trouble finding the game.
DJ Moore or Kyle Pitts rest of season?
Yeah, I think it's your boy. Did you? Steve Wilkes after the game was like, "We wanted to get DJ more involved, and we think there's a lot more he can do. We're going to continue to keep him involved."
The only thing I thought, and I don't think that they will trade him because he's a 25-year-old star wide receiver that's under contract, but that's exactly what they did with Christian McCaffrey the week before.
It's true, and that's why like last week's game was so wonky. They featured him. I would be stunned if they traded DJ Moore. I shouldn't say that they.
But
won't
what
do it.
should, like, realistically, and I've been thinking about this, the Packers obviously are a disaster, and Aaron Rodgers needs help. And I understand you're not going to get DJ Moore for what he's worth. So how much should the Packers be willing to overpay for DJ Moore?
They won't. What our
Well, then
opinion
they're
is-
going to suck.
Yeah, they've made it clear how they value wide receivers based on like the last 5 years of drafts and what they let Devontae Adams do this offseason. So if they go and they give up 2 first-round picks for DJ Moore, it'll blow my mind. That'll be amazing. But the move that they're going to make is they're going to like pick somebody up off the waiver wire or something like that. Like they won't even consider Odell Beckham. They are just averse to wide receivers with first-round picks or a bunch of free agent money.
Okay. Well, it sucks to be an Atlanta pass catcher, and that's our biggest losers today. We'll have more on them in our buy or sell segment a little bit later. We've got a newsletter for you to read. It is awesome. CBSSports.com/newsletters, and check it out. Chris Towers authors it every day, and it's terrific information, news updates, all the content that you need. Anyway, just check it out. Fantasy Football Today newsletter, CBSSports.com/newsletters. The big news, there is really a lot of it. This was a rough day for injuries. Breece Hall left in the second quarter with a knee injury. It could be a bad one. It could be a season ender.
They are talking like it's a torn ACL.
Yeah. Michael Carter is 62% rostered. Spend all your fab if he's available.
No.
Maybe.
Would you rather have Carter or Gus? Because I think you can make the case for. I think you can make a case for Gus. You can make a case for Carter too, I suppose. But what is this offense without Breece Hall? Do you really think Michael Carter is going to go in there and do what Breece Hall's been doing?
No, nobody said that.
No, but you're talking about spending all your fab on somebody.
I spent all my
Last
fab.
time we had the spend all your fab discussion, it was for Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
That worked out. I don't think this is going to work out.
I spent all my fab for Jimmy G in a 2 QB league. I was pretty happy with it today.
You should be. That's great. And you know what? I think he's got some staying power as McCaffrey starts to play more and more.
Yeah. Now, Carter, he had 3 games last year where he was getting a big workload. He had 13 to 16 carries in those 3 games, and he scored 32 PPR points, 9.6 PPR points, and 18.2 PPR points. He had 9, 1, and 4 catches in those 3 games. So he had a little bit, then he got hurt. A little bit of a sample of him being a feature back. Look, if he's not a spend all your fab, he's obviously a must add, and we'll talk about it on the waiver wire show. But excuse me, tough one there for Breece Hall. And really, I think if you have him in Dynasty, you just have to hope that if it is an ACL injury, that it's only an ACL injury, because I think we're learning multiple ligaments or multiple injuries, like what Gus Edwards had. He had 2 ligaments and a hamstring.
Dobbins.
Yeah, exactly. Longer recovery, rougher road.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra St. Brown left with a concussion in the first quarter, and really shocked that Josh Reynolds had such a quiet game.
He obviously wasn't right. Like, he didn't practice most of the week. Goff wasn't even looking at him.
Mike Williams left with an injury late. They have their bye week. We don't have any word on that, but let's hope it's something he can recover from.
It did not look good, but maybe a bye week will be enough.
And Dave, you have a snap count on Keenan Allen, because he barely played, right? I mean, he wasn't on the field much in this game.
Give me 60 seconds.
All right, the quick. Russell Wilson could play next week. Go ahead, Heath.
Yeah, he. I think we did see that the entirety of the Denver offensive problems are not Russell Wilson.
Yeah. All right, so Wilson could play next week. He's trending in the right direction. They're in London facing the Jaguars. DK Metcalf was carted off the field in the second quarter with a knee injury.
He was smiling when it was happening.
He said to his teammate on the sideline as he was riding the cart, "I'm okay."
Yeah. So we'll check on that, of course. DK Metcalf, good game for Geno Smith in IRL, but in fantasy, he only scored 15 or 16 points, only threw 27 passes. TJ Hawkinson left in the third quarter. David Njoku left with an ankle injury, and the backup tight end, Farrell Brown, left with a neck injury. Njoku says he's okay. They're hoping that he can get back there pretty soon. They have the Bengals, then a bye. Ryan Tannehill left. He came back, but he was limping. He's got an ankle injury, and I would say his status for Week 8 is a little uncertain right now. Ryan Tannehill at Houston next week. PJ Walker is expected to start again next week. Chuba Hubbard left late with an ankle injury. He came through. Both of those guys came through for you, Foreman and Hubbard. Pretty cool. Alan Lazard left with a shoulder injury. Not cool. They have Buffalo on. You think they're going to beat Buffalo on the road next week? Corey Davis may have sprained his MCL. Denzel Mims left in the fourth quarter, and Garrett Wilson still couldn't get anything going here. Mike Boone left with an injury. He played about a half of the game. Nico Collins left with a groin injury. And Josh Jacobs has scored more than 30 PPR fantasy points in 3 straight games. Austin Eckler, I think, has scored more than 24 points in 4 straight games.
Josh Jacobs or Jonathan Taylor rest of the season?
See, like in the trade chart, I would think that you're still going to get a lot for Taylor. But how can people ignore what Jacobs is doing? He's been phenomenal.
Now, one good thing for Taylor, though, is the way they're playing offense right now. I mean, he had, 7 catches today? They're very short area throws. Running backs have been getting a lot of targets. Look what we saw from Deion Jackson last week. So what's your answer, Heath? What's your answer, Dave? Jacobs or Taylor?
If somebody offered me Jonathan Taylor for Josh Jacobs, I don't believe I would take it. I do not think I'd make the trade either way.
Let's see. He's got the Saints, Jaguars, Colts. Really doesn't have a lot of tough matchups the rest of the way. Like the Rams, the 49ers
or Jacobs?
This is Jacobs.
You said the Colts. I was like, I hope he's talking about Jacobs.
Well, obviously, Jonathan Taylor can't play the Colts. He's not going to.
Some people might say that Taylor's playing against the Colts offense right now.
Sure. I mean, the people who have Josh Jacobs and the people who pay attention to everything around the league, they know how good he's been. But people who don't have Jacobs on their fantasy team and they don't pay attention, they don't see it. They don't recognize it, but they should. He's been amazing. Can he? If he does this he's not going to do this every.
I don't think you gave an answer.
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I've got one. I don't have to answer it.
It's your job, sir.
No, I don't have to answer right now. But I've got your Keenan Allen stats.
Okay.
Get your barf bag ready. He played 1/3 of the snaps. He had a 3.9% target share, 2 targets, caught both of them. Good for him. 11 yards. One of the targets was in the red zone. Yippee. So really a get your feet wet game as they go into their bye.
He was started in 31% of leagues. And he outscored Michael Gallup. All right, let's do some buy or sell.
Yeah, man.
Buy or sell. It is time to move on from, this is from Twitter, by the way, just random Twitter followers, friends of mine. Thank you for your help with the content here. Buy or sell. It's time to move on from Deebo Samuel.
Well, what does that mean? Move on from? You're going to cut him? You're not going to do that. You're going to trade him. You're not going to get fair value for him. You're going to bench him. That you might be able to do if you've got some good receivers, good flex.
I will not.
Won't bench him?
No, not yet.
Right. Buy or sell. No one on Atlanta is worth rostering.
I will sell that statement.
Ooh, that was a good Heath sigh. I got to put that in the edit notes.
I'll buy it in a 10-team league, but I will also sell it in a 12-team league.
Let's say Njoku's going to miss one game, and then he has his bye. Would you rather have Njoku or Kyle Pitts rest of the season?
Njoku by a
It's
bazillion
got to
miles.
be. You're right. It's got to be Njoku.
I was going to ask Greg Dulcich or Kyle Pitts.
Buy or sell. If you have Lamar Jackson, you should find a backup and consider playing matchups. This is now 4 straight games of fewer than, I think, 18 or fewer fantasy points for Lamar Jackson. If you have Lamar Jackson, you should find a backup and consider playing matchups.
Adam, what's his pass attempt per game been over those 4 games?
Well, he only
had 16 passes.
But it's been 29, 32, and 32. In fact, his first 6 games of the year, it was 29 to 32 passes every week. This week was only 16, even though he had the ball a ton.
Kind of an anomaly for this week, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been under 250 yards now, 5 straight games.
I just don't think I can. Yeah. I don't know that matchups have anything to do with it. Would really be afraid if I did that I was going to start Lamar Jackson when he scored 14 and sit him when he scores 55.
He's got the Bucs next week. If that defense is still beat up, he should have a huge game.
I think he's right. I mean, I think basically if you look at what happened last year he was among the leaders in yards, like rushing plus passing, yards, fantasy points by yards alone. He was among the leaders, but his touchdowns were so uneven. He would have games with 4 touchdowns or something. He would have a lot of games where he would have no more than 2. And Gus Edwards just, kind of vultured him today. And I think that's just what it is, right? I agree with you, Heath. It's not the matchups. It's the touchdowns. Is he going to get a touchdown? And Rashad Bateman dropped a touchdown in this game. So I don't know. It is frustrating. I get it. And this is maybe the 3rd year in a row where he's going to be frustrating for fantasy managers.
Is it a buy low opportunity?
If somebody thinks that he's now a matchup dependent streamer, I would say it absolutely is. I mean, as frustrating as it's been, he's probably going to be QB 5 or 6 for the year at the end of this week.
Okay, buy or sell. Romeo Doubs is droppable.
100%. Better one. Believe it or not, Chris Olave is the only rookie wide receiver who needs to be rostered.
I don't think I believe yours, Heath. And I don't know if I'm going to believe he shouldn't be on a roster, but if Lazard's hurt for a while, who are they playing on the outside in Green Bay? Now, you might say, does it even really matter? That's fair. But he's been terrible. The only thing I'm thinking of is he could continue to see opportunities, and maybe he works through this rut that he's in.
You believe it, Adam?
I think so. I mean, the thing is, how can you buy that the Falcons are going to throw the ball this infrequently? It's kind of insane, right? I'm assuming they would set up a record in the last blank years, fewest pass attempts.
Might be the fewest pass attempts since Arthur Smith was running the offense in Tennessee.
No, it's going to shatter that. I mean, they're so low. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, eventually they got to start throwing more. And if they do, Drake London, at least his target share most weeks is astronomically high. I mean, coming into the game, he had a 30+% target share. So
yeah, Pitts had like a 42% target share today.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you believe it, Heath, that Olave is the only rookie wide receiver worth rostering?
No, I set you up perfectly. Like I'm going to do many times tonight, and this one you failed. Wan'Dale Robinson 100% needs to be rostered.
Forgot about him. All right, buy or sell the Panthers backfield.
Buy.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, since we're just going to do them all in the first 5 minutes of the show, you can start both Panthers running backs next week against the Falcons.
Yeah, I think you can. I think you can believe that. It's really incredible how they both played well. And in the case of Foreman, like breaking tackles and just getting extra yardage, if he had a scintilla of speed, he would have had like one of the best. He might be RB1 this week.
But he does have some explosiveness, just not top end speed.
Like he doesn't have
he exploded through the hole, but he just got caught.
And I thought Hubbard looked great too. I think they both looked really, really good. We know that there are pieces of this offensive line that aren't great, but there are pieces that are developing and becoming better. And man, the Bucs were just a mess today defensively. They were horrible. Back end is all beat up. So not a surprise that these guys ended up being as good as they were. And they've got Atlanta. Cincinnati is going to be a tough game for them in week 9. And then Atlanta again. So 2 of their next 3 games are against the Falcons. That's really good.
So are we overreacting here? We had like no interest in them. This is arguably the worst team in football. No, I'm sorry. Okay, all right.
We did not have
had
no interest
in them. Very mild interest. I actually never got your thoughts on it, but I don't think you were on the show.
I had Chuba at RB 30 and Foreman at RB 36, I think.
Right.
Or 30 and 36.
Right. That makes sense, right? That's what
so a boost, just a small incremental boost up for them might put them at RB 24 and RB 30.
I think one thing that's a little disappointing is that they combined for 4 catches and they split them. And I don't know.
I mean, they were playing from ahead the whole game, just as we expected.
Yeah, I know.
And they probably will do it again next week against the Falcons.
What? Now you're picking them to beat the Falcons? Are you? Come on now. This is a week 7.
Good about the Falcons offense or defense from the last 2 weeks.
They beat the crap out of the 49ers 2 weeks ago.
They did. And the 49ers were beat up going into the game. They had a defensive touchdown.
Come on, the Panthers are going to beat the Falcons. Now the Falcons
are they might. They're both terrible.
I don't know that they're both.
Who's got the better defense? Let's just start right there.
For sure, Carolina. 100% Carolina.
Carolina is a better defense. They're always on the field. They're last in the NFL in time of possession. So their defense usually gives up a lot of points because their offense is so bad.
And I might give the offensive line edge to Atlanta. They've done a good job running the ball. Just in general, they use 3 guys.
Carolina has the best wide receiver.
Getting a little off subject here. I'm sorry, but all right.
Who has the best tight end?
Buy or sell. Tommy Tremble with the touchdown.
Tommy Tremble scored today.
He did.
Buy or sell. DJ Moore is relevant the rest of season.
I mean, I'm encouraged by what the coach said after the game. He knew that he needed to get more involved. He had a big target right off the top of the game. Walker didn't embarrass himself this week like he did last week. They weren't trying to
relevant for sure. Yes.
Buy. Thank you. Just say buy or sell. Buy or sell.
David doesn't
excited.
Like games.
I'm going to say buy.
Okay, buy. He had 7 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown on 10 targets. A week after having 3 catches for 7 yards on 7 targets, he was started. DJ Moore was started in 27% of leagues. We'll see what it is next.
Not a very good started fantasy point week for him.
No.
I was like 8% of that 27.
Buy or sell. You should sell high on Christian Kirk. I think he had about 90 yards today.
He did.
96.
16 of them came on the last play of the game when he made a nice catch, but like turned his back toward the end zone when he needed to score, and he was like a yard short of it.
Oh,
love the 10 targets. Love the 7 catches. I don't think anybody's going to give you anything for him in trade. So if you can sell high, sure, go for it.
What is this anti-Christian? You guys were. I don't know if you were.
I don't think. No, he's a low-end number 2 wide receiver.
Yeah, come on.
He's a rich man's Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, come on.
I think he's more just another Jacoby Myers.
A 66% started Christian Kirk. All right, folks. I want to tell you about SeatGeek, and I want to save you some money. We have a promo code for you on SeatGeek as well. I'm going to share my screen if you're watching on YouTube, if you just give me a second. But before I do that, I'm just going to tell you the honest truth. When I go to a game, I'm using SeatGeek. Now, back in the day, I would go to this website and that website, and I'd call ticket brokers and this and that. SeatGeek brings in seats from all over the web. So you can get everything in one convenient location. It's concerts, it's baseball, basketball, football, festivals, anything else. SeatGeek, again, they put tickets from all over the web in one place to make buying simple. All right, now just have to share the screen here if you'll let me, if you'll indulge me for a second. We got a big game coming up next week, so let's take a look at some prices here.
World Series?
I don't think I can afford it. No, even bigger than that, Heath. Giants at Seahawks. And here's your SeatGeek map. All right, so you can sort by price. I have it so that it includes the fees. $300, that's a lot. But you see all these green dots here? There, we got one up here for $195. You can see the view from the app or the website. You can see the view from the seat.
So cool.
Yeah, this is really cool. And all the green dots are the ones you're interested in. Any red dots, any yellow dots, or anything like that, you don't want to buy those. Those are bad values. So SeatGeek just makes it really, really easy to buy some tickets. And like I said, we're giving you a discount. So on your first SeatGeek purchase, use the code FFT. Go to SeatGeek.com or on the SeatGeek app, use FFT. Get $20 off. $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. SeatGeek, get your seat in a seat. Download the app today and use that promo code FFT for $20 off. All right. Thank you for indulging me there on my Giants Seahawks fantasy. Would love to go to a Seahawks game one day. News and notes. So we talked about Mike Evans dropping a 64-yard touchdown. That would have really changed things. Atlanta cornerback A.J. Terrell left in the first quarter with a hamstring injury. They also lost two other defensive backs in this game. I'll start DJ Moore next week. The Giants got pretty beat up. They lost two starting offensive linemen, and Daniel Bellinger left. He got poked in the eyes. Eye was bleeding. I don't know if he's going to be back anytime soon. That was rough. Russell Gage, hamstring. Tampa Bay defensive back Antoine Winfield left with a concussion. They are beat up in the secondary, Tampa Bay. Yes. Cincinnati defensive end Trey Hendrickson left in the second half with a neck injury. Green Bay linebacker Rashawn Gary was evaluated for a concussion. Let's see what else. Dallas defensive back Jordan Lewis made an interception and then limped off the field. Oh, tough injury for J.C. Jackson. It's been a rough year for him. He got benched last week. This is the prize free agent acquisition for the Chargers. Cornerback J.C. Jackson, serious knee injury. I'm going to guess it's a season ender, but I hope I'm wrong. Dre Greenlaw, San Francisco linebacker, he left with a calf injury. Denver linebacker Baron Browning left with a hip injury. These are some really good players that left today. And Carolina cornerback C.J. Henderson left in the second quarter. All right, Dave's winners and Heath's winners. Then we'll do the losers. Dave, you said Travis Etienne. Would you rather have Etienne or Ken Walker rest of season?
Oh, come on, Walker.
Would you rather have Etienne or Aaron Jones rest of season? Another winner.
Yeah, he was a big-time winner. I would say Jones over Etienne.
Would you rather have Etienne, last one, Etienne or T. Higgins? Who would you draft first if you were drafting today?
I think I'd want to go Higgins. I love what the Bengals are doing on offense.
Okay. Past 2 weeks have been really good. Yeah, and you know what? That transitions. So Etienne's an obvious winner. You're starting him next week. He's going to tear up the Broncos. That transitions us to Tyler Boyd, Dave. 8 catches, 155 yards and a touchdown. He had a 60-yard touchdown catch. And this is his second 100-yard game of the year. He now has 3 touchdowns this season. He also had an almost touchdown. He came inches away of another. Mm-hmm. So he was started in 49% of leagues. What do you do with Tyler Boyd? I think he's a good number 3 receiver rest of season. And one of the reasons why I don't know exactly what the Bengals have done to start to break up the cover 2 defenses that they're seeing, but Boyd's been a big target. He's been a huge part of it. 12 PPR points last week. This was a huge game this week. He's not going to be like this every week, but he's a legit candidate to start for fantasy managers. He's never going to get double covered. Good slot receiver and an awesome offense with a great quarterback. Your third winner is Paris Campbell, 4% roster, 2 games in a row with double-digit targets, 7 or more catches. He caught a touchdown today. 2 games in a row with a touchdown for Paris Campbell. What's going on here? Well, number 1, he's staying healthy, which is good. Number 2, Matt Ryan he doesn't have time to throw. That was a big problem for him in the first half. And he made some bad throws too. You want to talk about a washed-looking quarterback. Matt Ryan's got to be on the list too. He's just not as big of a fantasy name
as the other quarterbacks that Heath talked about. But I think Paris Campbell's going to evolve into being a good slot option for him and a good short area target for him. And I still think he could have a floor each week of like 12 PPR points, like 6 for 60 for however long he's healthy. I'm encouraged by what he's doing, and I like it.
Okay.
I like it too. Who is in trouble here, though, is my question. Like, if Paris Campbell is a significant part of the Colts offense, I don't see a way that Jonathan Taylor is a top 5 running back and Michael Pittman is 10 targets per game and Alec Pierce is a number 3 wide receiver.
Obviously, there's not going to be enough. Like, if Campbell's going to get 7 or 8 targets per week, it's not going to be enough left over for everybody to eat. But I think they're going to be a team that throws 35 times a week minimum. Yeah. So if he's getting 8, that's 27 left over. If Pittman gets 10, 17 left over. If that's 7 for Pierce, 10 left over. Yeah, it feels a little tight. There might be some weeks where we don't see Campbell dominate. I put him in the same bin as Tyler Boyd, maybe a little bit behind Tyler Boyd, but a guy who can be a good number 3 receiver in full PPR. I think Boyd's got upside to help in non-PPR, to be honest with you.
You know what? It's reminding me a little bit of the Steelers from last year. Matt Ryan's air yards today, air yards per pass attempt, 4 yards. And that's...
Yeah, I had to get rid of the ball quick.
But it's not just that. It's every week now. You know, it's not necessarily 4 yards, but he's among the lowest in the NFL. I think he went into today with the second fewest air yards per pass attempt in the NFL, ahead of only Kirk Cousins. So he's throwing the ball a ton. He's never throwing the ball downfield. I believe I heard on the broadcast that the Colts lead the NFL in 10-play drives of 10 or more plays, but they're not really scoring that much on them. So from a PPR standpoint, you know, you could actually get a lot of production here because they're just throwing so many passes, and his completion percentage is usually very high. This is so short area. All right, Heath, let's hear your winners here. Aaron Jones, man. Only 8 carries, but 9 catches, 53 yards, 2 touchdowns in the air.
So obviously the best offensive player on this team besides Aaron Rodgers, and maybe just the best offensive player on this team.
Yeah.
He was much more involved in the passing game. I didn't see the first touchdown catch. The second touchdown catch would have been a great catch if he was a wide receiver. Just a spectacular play. You just have to hope that it continues. Now, this is what the Packers should do every single game. He should be one of their top 2 target getters, like he's been for the last 3 seasons.
He played 77% of the snaps. He dominated 3rd and 4th downs. He had both of their snaps inside the 10. The 77% is unofficial as of Sunday night, but if it holds, it's his highest snap share of the season.
First touchdown was one of those little shovel passes that went a yard.
Yeah, it was
I
an
love
inside
those.
It's actually a pretty nice play, though, because he wasn't really open. I was saying the stupidest touchdown passes. Who are your other winners, Heath?
Well, I thought that you usually just said our winners,
I was
wasn't looking at the list.
Terry McLaurin and Gus Edwards.
Yes, I saw an interesting stat late in the week, and I don't remember who tweeted it, so sorry. I do this all the time. But Terry McLaurin saw a 24% target share from Taylor Heineke last year when Heineke was the quarterback. That is the highest of any quarterback that he's played with. He saw a 24% target share in this game and was very good. So I feel a little better about Terry McLaurin being what he's been, which is a mid-range to low-end number 2 wide receiver.
McLaurin or Cortland Sutton rest of season?
McLaurin.
Sutton. I'm so mad at Cortland Sutton. McLaurin or who's a good one here?
I know who you should say.
Christian Kirk. Tough.
That's tough. I think I'll say McLaurin. There's a lot of wide receivers in this group. And it's not the same group as last time with Gabe Davis and Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. It's an entirely different group, but they're all ranked in the same place.
They're all in that low-end number 2, high-end number 3.
There's like 17 of those guys.
Yeah, they're absolutely both in there.
All right, Gus Edwards. How about this? Gus Edwards or Terry McLaurin? Who's more valuable rest of season?
Man, it's so hard to know what to make of this game. I was shocked by the usage of Edwards, and there were times where I thought he looked pretty good in short yardage. I don't think he's very fast. I'm not sure he's as fast as he used to be. And I don't think they're going to throw the ball to him. I'm going to say McLaurin in full PPR. Definitely Gus and none.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Gus Edwards, guys. Big story here. 53% rostered, 10% started. Understandable. 16 carries, 66 yards, 2 touchdowns against a really bad Browns run defense. But Drake had 11 carries for 5 yards. Justice Hill had 5 carries.
Yeah, I think if he gets 16 carries and no targets, then that 66 yards shows you what the floor is. Because he's not going to score every single week. There are going to be weeks where Lamar Jackson throws 2 touchdown passes and runs for 2 touchdowns and no running back score. So Gus is probably going to be a top 24-ish running back next week, but he still has a pretty low floor in full PPR. He might be Damian Harris.
I don't think you need and Brian Robinson, like almost the same guy. What we saw today is he played 37% of the snaps. Drake had 25%. I wonder if they move on from Drake as long as Gus is healthy.
Please.
Just let him be the rundowns guy. Justice Hill played 7 of 17 snaps on 3rd and 4th down. Let him handle long 3rd down plays. And let Gus be Gus.
Yeah. All right, well, he's only 53% rostered, so he's going to be a big-time riser, certainly, on the waiver wire. That's an exciting one. Could have a good waiver wire week. All right, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, we'll talk about some losers from Fantasy Week 7. I don't know if we have to say anything more about Kyle Pitts and Drake London, but we do have more losers for you coming right up on Fantasy Football Today. Welcome back, everybody. Taking a look at Heat's losers. They are Kyle Pitts, Drake London. We'll say Pitts droppable in a 10-team league, London droppable in all formats, basically. 12-team or shallower, maybe.
You're never going to feel good starting Drake London, so sure.
No, you're not. And I know I'm being stubborn with both Drake London and Garrett Wilson. I feel like I am now open to both of them being droppable. And I did drop Garrett Wilson for Chuba Hubbard late when the news broke of the trade on Thursday night. But I still think that they are very talented wide receivers, and I still think there's a chance in the second half they are contributors for your fantasy team.
Garrett Wilson, by the way, is Heath's other loser. He's 67% rostered. And the best argument I can make for Wilson as a drop is, look, he's coming off a 24-yard game, and he's been bad now for about a month. And the Patriots, I don't know how good the Patriots are going to be against wide receivers, but you're not starting him next week. Right. And then he's got Buffalo, and then he's got a bye, and then he's got New England again. So it's hard to look at the next 4 weeks for Garrett Wilson and say you're going to be excited about starting him. But keep in mind, Elijah Moore's status is in question, and Corey Davis is going to miss some time with what they think is a sprained MCL as we sit here on Sunday night. So, Dave, do you drop or hold Garrett Wilson with all that considered?
I think you can drop him. And I know it stinks. We fell in love with him pretty quickly, and we still love the talent, or I'll speak for myself. I still love the talent. But Zach Wilson's a mess. And I feel like he's never going to have stable consistency in this Jets offense.
But that's stable consistency is not a requirement for being rostered, especially as we go through the buys. My concern right now is that he doesn't have the upside, because the guys I want to have on the bench are the guys that, okay, I'm forced to start someone. Can I imagine a scenario where this guy gets me 15 or 20 fantasy points because it just happens to be his week? Well, I can't.
That's fine. There's another layer to it. He's got the Patriots twice and the Bills once in a bye. Those are the next 4 weeks for the Jets.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's terrible for him.
All right, Dave's losers. Isaiah Pacheco. It just he was I think
what a ride that we all just went on.
48% rostered this morning, Dave, and now he's 70% rostered. And of course, if you missed it, there was a report that Pacheco got first team reps and he was going to start today. I don't even know if maybe he did, but the carries were very evenly distributed.
He did.
Dave.
Yeah.
Okay.
He started, returned the opening kickoff.
Oh. Dave, what do you think about Pacheco?
The leading running back for the Chiefs in snap share was Jerick McKinnon, 42% of the snaps. The leader in snaps on 3rd and 4th down for the Chiefs, 6 of 8 snaps, was Jerick McKinnon. the leader in snaps inside the 10, 3 of 4.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Jerick McKinnon.
You got it.
Yes.
And CEH had another trademark touchdown. Dude, it's a mess. We all got excited over Isaiah Pacheco. His best contributions in this game felt like it came on.
Yeah, I'm not going. I've taken enough falls. I'm not taking this one. I did not get excited about Isaiah Pacheco. Although I did let Twitter decide my last starting flex spot in Scott Fishbowl. I gave them 4 options: Isaiah Pacheco, Latavius Murray, DJ Moore, and Deontay Foreman. And by 60% margin, they chose Pacheco. And he was the worst option of the group, and I lost by 2 points. So thanks, guys. But it's there. I think the Chiefs running backs are just going to be. I can't drop any of them. And I bet Pacheco scores a touchdown and has a good game in the next couple of weeks. They're desperation flexes if you have too many players on a bye.
Heath, Twitter told me to trade Joe Burrow this morning, and I did it. So Twitter.
Maybe we should stop listening to Twitter.
It was like a 70%. It was I traded Burrow and Sutton for Tua and Mixon. So I think it was a good trade, but Burrow goes off.
What was the Gabe Davis trade that Twitter hated you for?
That was me trading Jamal Williams and Alan Lazard for Gabe Davis and Zamir White to Dave. See how that turns out. We have to talk about Joe Burrow, and we'll do it in a minute. I shouldn't have waited this long to talk about a guy who's now has the first quarterback in NFL history to have 5 400 passing yard games in his first 3 seasons, according to ESPN stats. So let's talk about that. But first, Dave, you want to tell us about Kareem Hunt, who had 8 total yards today and 20 in his last 2 games.
He scored,
and
he had 7 PPR points. 6 touches. Second game in a row with single-digit touches. I can't feel good starting Kareem Hunt.
Kareem punt.
Yeah.
To the bench.
He's got a matchup against a well-disciplined Bengals defense, and then a bye.
Let's talk about Joe Burrow and that well-disciplined Bengals offense. What's so funny?
It almost sounded like Dave was more optimistic about the bye than he was about the matchup against the Bengals.
Yeah, well, look,
I know what to do with Kareem Hunt on that week.
Yeah, they've been playing from behind each of the last 2 weeks, and that is just not suited. That is not good for Kareem Hunt. They need to have a ton of rush attempts for Kareem Hunt to have a good game.
And I think we all would have thought at the beginning of the year when they're playing from behind that is good for Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, you're right. And, I don't know what it was this week, but last week, Hunt played so many third down snaps and did not have, I don't think he had a single catch last week. Maybe he had 1. Let's talk Joe Burrow, though. He scores 45 points against the Falcons. He threw for something like 350 yards in the first half.
344, yeah.
344. Ends up with 481 and 3 and a rushing touchdown. And last week, he scored 38.5 fantasy points. So you can just go ahead and look at Lamar Jackson, who had 2 straight 44-ish, 46-point games, and it's not going to last forever. But this is pretty awesome what's going on right now. And Heath, maybe they've solved their problems. And I don't know, is Joe Burrow just a top or like one of the true elites now?
I'm not quite ready to say that, but another week or 2, and I might. He's definitely a must-start quarterback and a top 7 or 8 option. I would still prefer Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, and Hurts over him rest of seasons. There's my top 4. And I think that he is right there with Justin Herbert and Geno Smith, of course, and Kyler Murray in the group of the next guys.
I don't know that anyone's going to take him over. I don't know that anyone's taking Herbert over Burrow right now. Not that you should, but you know what that Twitter poll would look like.
Oh, I know, right? But that's the game. That's the recency bias that we deal with on Twitter.
I would take Burrow over Herbert now.
Have the Bengals learned that they need to have the offense run through him instead of trying to be balanced?
I mean, it looks that way. Mixon has what? He has 14 or fewer carries in like 4 of his last 5 games or something.
I don't think it's that low, but They dominated against Atlanta, and Burrow still threw 42 times.
Yeah, no, dude, he has 14 or fewer carries. Oh no, he had 17 carries today. He got a lot late.
Right.
Yeah, he got a lot. Okay. No, the reason. Well, first of all, Mike Williams got this injury. Keenan Allen hasn't been on the field.
That's true. Yeah, if they're not healthy, then I would agree.
Slater. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've talked about the Chargers in a little bit, but they are not a good team. All right. So anyway, Burrow's the man, and you'll start him. Dave, how about you? Where would you rank Burrow rest of season?
He's top 5.
Lamar Jackson or Burrow?
I think Burrow will go ahead of Lamar Jackson on the trade chart.
Is that I because when you answer that, I would just wonder, is that your way of saying that you prefer them, or that you think their trade value in the general public is higher?
I think there's no question that the general public's going to think that Burrow's value is worth more than Lamar Jackson. And rest of season, I think the case can be made that the Bengals have learned that Burrow's where they go. Just like the Ravens, it's not like the Ravens are going to change course and say, we've got to run our offense through Gus Edwards. But Lamar hasn't been great. And I think that that's something that could be off and on for him. Burrow should be a little more consistent. So I guess it's both.
Okay. But in general, does the trade chart reflect your rest of season rankings?
No. No. I think I do a good job of taking the pulse of the public.
Okay.
So with the trade chart, you're trying to reflect the general public's rankings for the
There's
rest
a lot
of season.
more of that because people are trying to make fair trades. It shouldn't necessarily be
That's
what
fine.
I think this guy's worth. I think the general public should have.
I should probably say that
standard
for my
too.
dynasty trade chart, it is my opinion of the player's value in dynasty. That's a good distinction to make.
Okay. Let's all right. Yeah, let's go to the games here. I'm trying to look up.
Look, I should say that it's not all strictly the public. Like, obviously, I've got to put my spin on it too.
Right.
But I think public sentiment, because I also don't want to do it based on past performance. Past performance is great, but you're not trading.
Well, that's
if you
pretty
trade
much
for Joe Burrow next week. You're not getting the points that he just got. And I think everybody realizes that.
What if we could though?
That'd be messed up. That'd be a weird league.
All right, Cincinnati.
So it's a healthy mix of it all. But public perception
We
play a
do
role.
have a Twitter poll going just to see public perception. Lamar Jackson versus Joe Burrow, who scores more fantasy points rest of season?
And I'm sure Burrow's crushing him.
First 100 votes, 49% Lamar Jackson, 41% Joe Burrow.
Whoa. Wow, shocked.
I'm surprised.
All right, that's gonna flip. They haven't counted the mail-ins yet. That's gonna flip. Cincinnati 35, Atlanta 17. We have covered most angles of this, but how about Tyler Algier? 16 carries, 50 yards, and a touchdown. That's 13 to 16 carries in 3 straight games. He's usually in the 50-yard range. He doesn't catch any passes. So, what do you think about Tyler Algier, Heath?
We need a name for these running backs because I would put Tyler Algier, I think, in the basement. Brian Robinson's on the first floor. Gus Edwards is on the second floor. Damian Harris is on the third floor. Derrick Henry is in the penthouse. But I don't know. And Derrick Henry does catch a few passes. So maybe that's not quite fair. But yeah, he's a poor man's version of a poor man's version of a poor man's version of Damian Harris.
Are these not trap? No, he's not a trap back because he gets the goal line work, right?
Right.
Okay.
He did today. I think he's separated a little bit from Huntley and Williams. Played 60% of the snaps, 60% of their third and fourth downs, 75% of their snaps inside the 10. But we might be 2 weeks away from Cordero Patterson being back.
Any concerns about T. Higgins? I know he had a good game, but it wasn't as good as the other guys. And last week he wasn't as good as the other guys. Does he get left out a little bit?
I think he'll be better than Boyd rest of season, for sure.
Yeah, I would say that too.
Okay, I was trying to look up his ADOT. If I don't know, I'm like 2 seconds away from being able to get that, but I guess I have to move on here. Baltimore 23, Cleveland 20. Heath, give me a believe it or not.
Oh, I didn't even do one for the last game. That's disappointing. I think I did 3 for the last game. Believe it or not, Gus Edwards is better than Kareem Hunt rest of the season.
I hate to overreact based on one game, but there's two factors. Okay. Number one, I hate to overreact. Gus obviously had the better game. Number two, we don't know what's going to happen if J.K. Dobbins actually does heal up and play once we get to December. And you know what Kareem Hunt's upside is with if there's a game or two or three where there's no Nick Chubb.
What's the
You're
name
asking me to pick one for the rest of the season?
Believe it or
I
not,
do not believe it. I do not believe it. I know I
Yeah,
do. I
I don't think I'm ready to believe it yet.
I believe it. It was Gus is better than Kareem Hunt?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Dave, I think for the purposes of this, let's just assume Nick Chubb doesn't miss time. That would obviously change things. But as long as Nick Chubb's healthy, then I'm going to start Gus Edwards over Kareem Hunt. Yeah. No, Dave?
You're entitled to your opinion.
Next week I will.
You're not there yet, though. You're still.
I think if I had to choose today, rest of the season, I would choose Gus.
Oh no, I meant Dave. You're still on Kareem Hunt?
I don't know if I want to be. I don't know if I'm in love with either guy.
They will not be choosing any sides today.
Hey, how about Donovan Peoples-Jones, guys? 50 yards or more in 4 straight games, 70 or more in 3 of those 4. No more than 74 yards. But he does not have a touchdown. He went into the game tied for the team lead in green zone targets, but 15% roster, 16%. We basically never talk about Donovan Peoples-Jones. Dave, talk about Donovan Peoples-Jones.
He's a good bye-week replacement receiver, and in deeper leagues, he's a good number 3 PPR receiver.
Drop or hold Rashad Bateman, 85% roster, dropped a touchdown in this game. Drop or hold Bateman.
Hold.
For sure.
Drop or hold Mark Andrews.
Hold. Don't you think that, like, if you were a tight end who was elite and secure in your eliteness, like everybody acknowledged you were number 2, that it would be a really great ode to the tight end position on tight end day to go out and put up 0 catches for 0 yards? Like, yeah, tight ends. This is what we do.
Well, George Kittle and Travis Kelce didn't get that message because they both had the same stat line. I think 8 for 96, except Kittle had the touchdown, something like that. Dallas 24, Detroit 6.
Believe it or not, Ezekiel Elliott's going to be a top 18 running back rest of season.
Dave?
Yeah, I don't think I can believe that. Because this was another game where Pollard looked so much better. And Zeke would have had a miserable game if not for the touchdowns. And he would have had a really milquetoast game if he only had 1 touchdown. And Pollard played more snaps. I think that should be said.
I've got a better one. Believe it or not, Dalton Schultz is back as a must-start tight end because Dak Prescott is back.
That's not a better one. That's not
a better
conversation is a great conversation.
Right. And you just changed it to a crappy tight end one.
I don't think he's a crappy tight end.
Oh,
no. Tight end is crappy.
No, I'm all about Dalton Schultz, but here's the thing. I mean, Dak Prescott had a quote after the game where he basically said something like, I watched the way they played with Cooper Rush, and I've got to make sure that I'm being, I'll get the quote. But basically, don't expect him to throw 38 times a game. He threw 25 times in this game.
They didn't even win time of possession. Lions had the ball for more. They were efficient. It was an efficient game for the Cowboys.
We are 657 votes into the Twitter poll. Mm-hmm. Lamar Jackson has 48%. Joe Burrow has 43%.
That's interesting information. See, I wasn't sure how much recency bias would play in.
All right, so Dak said, it was important for me to see that and recognize that and know coming back, don't try to do too much. I'm just trying to play my role and make sure that I put this team in the best chance to win. So obviously this is the best defense they've had in a long time. They have a pretty easy schedule, like every team in the NFC East. The Bears, Packers. Well, it gets a little tough. Packers, Vikings, Giants, Colts. Not super easy after the bye. But yeah, I mean, that's obviously plays into the Dalton Schultz thing. But I do want to finish up on Zeke because I need to know how you guys think we should value Ezekiel Elliott. Coming off this game with 57 yards and 2 touchdowns, he's still not catching anything.
The same exact way that I valued him before this week. He is a low-end number 2 running back against a good matchup, especially when there are people on a bye, and he's a high-end flex every other week.
I'd try and sell high.
So you guys would rather have ETN than Zeke?
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, when you say he's a low-end number 2, I mean, I feel like we would have a tough time running off 20 names that we like better than Zeke.
I mean, he had 57 yards in this game. If Dallas had decided, and I kind of thought they would, but they don't like Dak, so I get why they didn't. I thought they'd make it a Dak week coming back. They could have very easily chose to just throw the ball in from the 2 or 3 yard line, or give Dak the QB sneak from a half yard. The only reason he was good is because he got the carries inside the 5.
I know, but he also had 4 straight games with 75 to 86 total yards leading into this game. So this was a bad yardage game for him. He usually has more. If he's going to get 15 carries a week, and he's had 15 carries in 5 of 7 games, then I'm not a huge Zeke guy, but there is certainly a case to be made for him to be a must-start guy.
If he's going to get 15 carries a week, then what's the difference between him and Gus Edwards?
We sure that Gus is getting 15 carries a week?
1 to 2, maybe a couple catches and 15 yards, something like that. There's not a huge difference, I guess.
I don't know how we could project a couple of catches a week for Ezekiel Elliott.
Well, he's averaging 1. So
he's averaging 1, and he does not have a game with more than 2 targets. So it's going to be very difficult.
Because I don't know you can project that, but except you just assume that they're going to have to throw more at some point. All right, I think we've gotten down to the heart of it here.
You're the Ezekiel Elliott guy now.
No, God. I was saying to trade him before this game. Like, I thought this would, everybody knew.
We did talk about him as a get by running back too.
Yep.
And I think he can still be someone like that, because we're not saying he's going to absolutely suck, don't start him. We're calling him a low end number 2 running back. If you're really struggling at running back, he's somebody that you could go and trade for, and you shouldn't have to give up that much for.
What I said last week was I would buy him, start him for the next month, and then sell him. But if you want to sell him after this game and you think somebody thinks he's a top 15 running back, go get rid of him.
All right, I think Ezekiel Elliott is the holdiest hold in fantasy football.
Okay.
Just hold him. What do you think?
Hold him tight.
Right? Hold him. Yeah, he is what he is.
I'd rather have T. Higgins.
Okay. Drop or hold Michael Gallup. No catches on 2 targets.
He's droppable.
Yep.
Come on. Noah Brown had 7 targets and 5 catches. Schultz had 5 catches.
On 5 targets. And he tweaked his knee again, but apparently he's fine.
Believe it or not, Dak being back is bad for CeeDee Lamb because Dak spreads the ball around.
He's going to have some huge games. I'm done ranking him as a top 12 fantasy receiver.
I don't even remember what we concluded, but I remember 2 weeks ago someone saying, I swear I don't remember who it was. If it was even us. Someone on the show saying, I might have to take CeeDee Lamb over Jamar Chase. Made sense at the time, honest to God. But nobody would do that now. All right, Washington 23, Green Bay 21.
Oh, boy. Well, we did Terry McLaurin already. Did we talk enough about Brian Robinson yet?
No.
Not a lot.
I don't know what you would believe or not believe about Brian Robinson because, believe it or not, Brian Robinson's good for Antonio Gibson.
Brian Robinson's good for Antonio Gibson.
Gibson.
I kind of get it. Look at the last 2 weeks for Gibson. The efficiency was nice 2 games ago. It wasn't great for fantasy.
I would like to know red zone snaps for Gibson and Robinson.
I've got it.
Because it seemed like it was really not all Robinson's gig.
Not at all.
It wasn't. Gibson played 5 of 8 snaps inside the 10.
So what is Robinson's a high-end flex in non-PPR and a mid-range flex in full PPR?
I still think he can be a number 2 running back. You've got to love the workload. The fact that he had 20 carries today. I wasn't expecting him to have 20 carries. And he caught 2 passes. That was a nice surprise. But no, 10 PPR points isn't going to help you win your leagues. It's just going to help you stay afloat in a competitive matchup in your leagues.
He is me. I'll be bold here, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Brian Robinson is such a sell high candidate. I mean, yeah, obviously there are going to be different people who evaluate him differently, but you just see the carries 2 weeks in a row. Well, they're 2-0 in those games. I don't buy Washington, and he's splitting carries, and he's not going to catch a lot of passes, and he's not even the goal line guy necessarily. And maybe goal line, but if he's at the 5-yard line, it's not necessarily going to be him. I am selling Washington, and therefore I am selling Brian Robinson because he could be game scripted out so easily.
Robinson or Gus?
Gus.
Gus for me. Jay?
What? My name's Dave, not Jay.
Who's Jay?
Jay Cutler.
Oh, because I have a pen in my mouth. I'm looking something up right now.
For the people listening, Dave has got a white pin hanging out of his mouth. Like he did earlier on the stream today.
Yeah, I said
he referenced himself.
Smoking show. I said that earlier.
Yeah.
And then he said he was Jay Cutler. Dave, who you got? Gus Edwards or Brian Robinson?
I hate overreacting to one game where one guy plays 37% of the snaps and might play 55% of the snaps the rest of the way. That's why I was a little hesitant
Brian
to say
Robinson's going to
Gus.
play?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me finish what I'm saying, please.
All right.
That's why I was a little hesitant to start to say Gus over Kareem Hunt or Gus over Brian Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't watch a lot of the Ravens games, so I'm not ready. I'm sorry. Not ready to make definitive comments.
It doesn't have to be definitive. Nobody's holding your feet to the fire. It's just fun. We're just having fun.
Okay, you didn't watch the Ravens. Brian Robinson or Damian Harris rest of the season?
I think I'd rather have Robinson just because of the opportunities that he's going to get in Washington.
All right. Tennessee 19, Indianapolis 10.
Ugh. These two teams.
I do know them.
Yeah. Believe it or not.
Give me a Robert Woods.
No, there's nothing to. Robert Woods is droppable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Give me
100%
give me Michael Pittman. Give me Michael Pittman.
Believe it or not, Michael Pittman is a number 2 wide receiver like he's always been. Yeah, he's a mid-range. He's right in the Terry McLaurin group, maybe at the top of it.
All right. Who would you rather have, Pittman or McLaurin?
He's at the top of it, so Pittman.
Yes.
Dave?
Pittman.
Jonathan Taylor. If you were drafted again today, is Jonathan Taylor a first-round pick?
I'm
Yes,
drafting.
but
I'm drafting right now for the rest of the season.
Yes.
No.
Mixon
I think
or
he's a
Taylor?
late first, early second. And to answer your earlier question, I would take Jacobs ahead of him.
Taylor over. Ooh, I like it. That's spicy. That is really spicy.
I'm sorry, you take who? Jacobs? Okay.
Yes.
What about Mixon?
Yeah,
I
I think I'd take Mixon. And the more I think about it, the more I think that he might not be a first round.
No.
pick or a late first round.
You're definitely taking Cup over him.
Sure. I'm going
And
to take
Jefferson.
Kupp. I'm going to take Jefferson. I'll probably take
Kelsey.
Jamar Chase. All the stud running backs like Saquon and McCaffrey, they're going to go ahead. and
Eckler.
do. Yeah. So I think I could probably name 12 guys I would take ahead of Taylor. So, yeah, he's not a late first. He's a second round pick.
7 catches today. I mean, it's pretty good. Yeah. All right.
7 non-PPR points.
Yeah. Well,
That's like 5th,
no.
6th, 7th round.
he had 8.5 PPR points.
In full decimal, yes.
All right, let's go to our next game. Carolina 21, Tampa Bay 3. You heard that right. Carolina 21, Tampa Bay 3.
And we already did both DJ Moore and the Panthers running backs. Believe it. Well, we did Tom Brady already. Believe it or not, Chris Godwin's still not right.
I have no idea. I don't know what's going on over there.
Something's
I mean,
not
how
right.
many weeks in a row has it been where he's averaged below 11 yards per? I can look that up if you don't have it in front of
Godwin?
you. Yeah.
Maybe all of them?
Yeah. So I think it goes without
But is that
saying.
him or is that Brady? Or is that the fact that they can't give Brady enough
Well,
time?
look, against Tampa, I take it back because against Tampa, he had like 16 yards per catch. But before then, really
against
didn't.
Tampa?
Against Chiefs?
I mean, I'm sorry, against the Steelers.
Steelers?
Yes. I'm tired. Excuse me.
Yeah. Long day. Well, how about, believe it or not, Chris Godwin is no longer a must-start wide receiver.
I do not believe that.
I don't believe that either. He's at worst a high-end flex.
But I would put it in the same as I did with the Aaron Jones conversation last week. I said Aaron Jones was still must start this week, but if he was bad against Washington, then I might have to reconsider. If Chris Godwin's bad against the Ravens, then I might not think he's a must start wide receiver anymore.
Okay. Giants 23, Jacksonville 17.
Believe it or not, Daniel Jones is a viable starting fantasy quarterback for each of his next 3 games.
He's played Seattle. I think that's going to be a yes. That's a maybe.
Houston.
Then Houston's a yes. I mean, I'm thinking about him. First, I'm thinking about him through the lens of being a bye week quarterback replacement.
Detroit.
Yeah. That's the
They're
third
looking
game.
at this the wrong way.
I am.
Never, ever does this. When he's good, it's never his passing. If he's good, it's his rushing. And that's really hard to predict.
But he's running almost every week.
Is the objective to get 17 fantasy points out of him?
I want to clarify. I did not say he's a must-start quarterback. I did not even say he's a top 12 quarterback. I said he is a viable starting quarterback.
I just don't know that the matchups matter unless it's really brutal or something. But he throws for 200-ish yards. It's just a matter, and he's got 6 touchdown passes in 7 games. So it's really just a matter of how much rushing he's going to score a rushing touchdown. He's pretty hard to predict in that regard.
Sure. Would love to have him as a bye week quarterback.
Have him. Seattle, then a bye, then Houston, then Detroit. It's not too shabby.
Nope.
100 and rushing.
I wish I had him as my bye week quarterback this week in one of my leagues. I started Goff.
Wandale's 39% rostered. He'll be a popular waiver wire pickup. He had 8 targets, 6 catches, 50 yards. Slayton was actually better, 58 yards and a touchdown. Ellinger got hurt. The Jaguars are really hard to figure out, man. They move the ball. Lawrence looks good. Something's missing, though. Something's missing with them.
I don't think Lawrence looks good.
I think he
does at times, but he's not
consistent.
He's not consistent enough, and they turn the ball over too much.
He's 85% rostered. I'm not sure in a 1 QB league that needs to be the case, especially with Denver coming up, guys.
I agree. You'll see him start to get dropped a little.
Going to drop James Robinson?
Yeah, I think you can.
All right. We pretty much covered that game. Vegas and Houston, 38-20 Las Vegas.
So we covered Josh Jacobs, and the Yankees must have done something good.
Yes.
Adam's hands went in the air. I thought you'd given up hope. That's
never
cute.
I mean, hope, yes. I'm not going to give up.
Believe it or not, Brandon Cooks is droppable.
Oh.
We're there in 10-team leagues. I don't think I can feel comfortable starting him in 12-team leagues anymore. So, yeah, I think he's droppable.
We do have a lot of wide receivers either hurt or on a bye next week. I don't know who Houston plays next week.
Next week?
Tennessee.
Well, we got
they
the Chiefs
play the
and
Titans
the Chargers
next week. So maybe there's a chance. But then after that, he's got Philly. Is the Giants that tough? Look, part of the problem, I think, is that every matchup's tough for the Houston passing game because the Houston passing game just isn't that.
Davis Mills threw touchdowns to Philip Dorsett and Chris Moore today.
I know.
Thank you very little.
Okay, his touchdown pass to Philip Dorsett was freaking spectacular. They should frame it. It was amazing.
His best ever? Would you say it's his best touchdown pass?
Without knowing, yes, I would have to say it was definitely his best ever. One thing to keep in mind with Brandon Cooks is that Nico Collins did leave with an injury, so that would probably make him more.
So they
appealing.
might let Brandon Cooks run more than 10 yards now?
What are we thinking about Derek Carr? This was one of those, didn't throw a lot. 21 of 27 for 241 yards and a touchdown. That's a good game, but it doesn't work for fantasy. What are we thinking about Derek Carr at New Orleans next week? And they've been awful defensively.
I have not changed my opinion on Derek Carr. I don't believe in the last 5 years. But he is a high-end number 2 quarterback who's nothing special, but he's not going to hurt you. I hope he can do better.
Geno over Carr rest of season?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hunter Renfrow, drop or hold?
You can drop.
Okay. 3 more games. Jets, Broncos. Jets 16, Denver 9.
Believe it or not, Greg Dulcich is a starting tight end next week.
Against New England. Nope. Sorry, that's
No,
Jets. against all
He's
odds
against the Jaguars in England.
in London.
Old England.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think he qualifies. He's in the streaming conversation.
All right, listen. Let's treat this game as if Russell Wilson's coming back next week.
But why should we? Because there was a report that he could be out multiple weeks.
Because his coach said that he's trending in the right direction.
Yeah, his coach doesn't know anything about directions or trends.
The only thing that Russell Wilson would change for me is whether I prefer Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton next week.
Right.
If Rippon, I definitely prefer Jeudy, but
Sure.
I think both of them are going, like, this offense has thrown the ball to their tight ends pretty regularly. It's just that early in the season, it was a three-way tie between Alberto and Andrew Beck and Eric Tomlinson. I didn't make that name up. It's real. And now it seems to be that when they throw the ball to their tight end, it's Greg.
Right. It's the one that this coaching staff drafted.
He's got a beautiful head of hair as well.
Yeah, and I really think Dulcich de Leche was a funny team name, and Jamie didn't like it. Chris Towers also came up with Dulcich de Leche separately, so I think it's good. What do you think about?
You feel better or worse about it?
Better. Chris is good at team names. He's actually quite good at team names. He should make a newsletter all about you're terrible because you think they're good, and they're just not. Latavius Murray is 49% rostered. He had 8 carries, 24 yards, and a touchdown. Melvin Gordon had 11 carries. Mike Boone had 4 carries. It was pretty even in the first half. Boone didn't play in the second half.
He got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt. What do you think about Latavius's roster percentage? 49%. How is that porridge? That's right.
It should be higher. He should be on benches, but he's someone you can't be excited about. If you had dropped him for Gus before this week's action, you'd feel like a genius.
Yeah. All right, Kansas City 44, San Francisco 23.
If you had benched him for Pacheco, you would not feel like a genius. Believe it or not, Juju Smith-Schuster is a top 20 wide receiver rest of season.
Can I name 19 other receivers I'd rather have?
This dude is trending in the right direction. In the first half, he made multiple plays against man coverage, tight man coverage. Patrick Mahomes threw it to him when he was in tight man coverage, which Mahomes has not done. And he made plays on both of them. Then he made another 40-yard play. I believe he has 4 plays of 40 or more yards already this season.
He seems to be getting into a better groove. You got to love the passing offense. You said he had multiple plays in the first half?
Yes.
Against
Down
man
the left sideline.
Okay.
And a slant on 3rd and short. That was just a really good play.
Was it a good route? Because, I mean, that's something he's been able to do. What I would be more encouraged by is what he did in the second half, because he only had 3 catches for 30 yards.
Well, what do we think? Is Juju a top 20 wide receiver?
I think he could be close to it. Not trying to overreact to one game, but the last 2 weeks he's been really great. He's in the absolute right offense. How about this? This is a team that's struggling to find its rushing identity. And as long as that's going to be in the case, they've done what the Bengals are now just starting to do. They've been leaning on Mahomes for years. So having a guy who's going to be a good short area target who can break those plays in the long plays, yeah, I think Juju's got a shot. I wish he had 8 targets every week. There's going to be some weeks where he doesn't, but he's going to be close to a top 20 running back. I don't know if he actually makes it, but he's close.
Yeah, he's actually had exactly 8 targets in 5 of 7 games, and the other 2 he had a combined 8. So sometimes he falls short. This is Juju Smith-Schuster we're talking about here. Rest of season, Juju or Terry McLaurin?
I think I'd rather have Juju.
Wow. How about Juju or Michael Pittman?
Ooh.
I think Pittman.
I'm
not sure.
I think Juju.
Any thoughts on Christian McCaffrey? 10 touches in this game for 62 yards.
He's awesome.
I mean, he's never going to play. I mean, I can look up how many snaps he played.
It was while Dave does that, just a funny story. My wife watches football with me quite a bit, obviously. She's a Chiefs fan, but she doesn't really pay attention to a lot of the names of players. She doesn't play fantasy football. And she was watching the 49ers offense and Christian McCaffrey made one of his plays and she goes, "Oh, wow." he is such a different animal when he touches the football. It's just amazing.
Yeah, he's never going to play 29% of the snaps again. That's what he had today.
Yeah, he looked absolutely terrific.
Right. Jeff Wilson didn't look bad either, but it'll be Wilson who's playing 29% of the
Jeff's going to look real good standing on the sideline.
Right.
We back to trusting George Kittle fully?
I think you can.
Yeah.
What decision do you have to make?
Well, is he the number 3 tight end in fantasy rest of season?
He's ahead of. He's got to be ahead of Ertz.
Oh, it's him for sure.
I think it is.
Yeah,
I think it
ahead
is.
of Goddard?
Yeah, he was third on the trade chart coming into the week, so of course he is.
Seattle 37, Chargers 23. This is our last game.
Believe it or not, Ken Walker is a top 10 running back rest of season.
I believe it.
Quick. Walker over Taylor?
No.
Yes.
No.
Which is just yet another reason why Taylor's in the first round.
Dave, I'll bet anything on this. We're going full PPR here?
Sure.
I would like to name the stakes, please.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, like, I don't know, man. I just don't know how involved he's going to be in the passing game. He had no catches today. Obviously
that's okay. He had 2 touchdowns and 168 rushing yards.
Yeah, look, he's great. This is nothing.
And it was a super favorable matchup, but this is what Seattle wants to do. They want to run the football. He's young. He's a perfect fit for their offense. He's going to get 20 touches a week. Yes, Jonathan Taylor will get more catches than Ken Walker. And yes, there will be some weeks where it will look silly that I said that I like Ken Walker better than Jonathan Taylor. But I bet Walker has more weeks better than Taylor.
What I really enjoy, and we're at the end of the podcast. I know Adam wants to go watch baseball.
No, it's like I'm watching football.
I really enjoy is how we progressed throughout the show. The beginning of the show, you really did not want to take a side. And then we get to Ken Walker versus Jonathan Taylor, and it was immediate.
I like what I see from Walker.
I
He's
love
awesome.
Walker. Hey,
this has nothing to do with Ken Walker or Jonathan Taylor, just your decisiveness.
Yeah, that's good. That's cool. I like the conviction. All right.
Are we done?
We're done. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow with Beyond the Box Score on Fantasy Football Today.